Hi everyone, welcome to SIG Node weekly meeting on July 30, 2024. Today we're going to go over the 131 release retro. Peter, I've made you co-host. You want to share your screen? Okay.
Yes. Hello, everyone. So here we have the retro. I went through all of the KEPs that we had committed to in our KEP planning. I did remove the ones that we had explicitly said we weren't going to work on. Some of these, but I left the ones that we said we maybe would work on, some of which we did and some of which we didn't. I also have recently added a new column to this, or a couple of new columns. Previously, it was just we had the whether or not they were merged, but I didn't think that they gave us a complete view of like what happened with it. So I think that I've added the planned, which is whether or not we planned on working on it, and this is directly from the planning sheet I just had up. And then this is whether there was an updated enhancement. Sometimes we planned on stuff, but then the author never actually submitted a cap update, or it was never really actually included in 131. And then whether it merged was ultimately whether the code actually made it in. So going through, we can just sort of go through them and can maybe talk about some of the ones that, you know, had a state that wasn't as expected. So DRA structured parameters, and similarly DRA, which is a little bit lower, both of those made it. So that's good. Did anyone have anything they wanted to mention about that? Cool. Similarly, OCI volume source, I was, Sasha authored that, but I was a little bit involved with that. We made that on time and that merged, so that's good. Anything there? I suppose interrupt me if you have anything to say, otherwise I might not wait for every single one. But please chime in if you have anything to talk about. Good to hear anyone's thoughts. The first one, we did not actually hit the expected state was for restarting sidecars for pod termination. It looks like there was a WIP PR that did not make it. I actually also, we didn't update the KEP for 131, but it was previously put into 130 and then bumped from that, and then 131 and bumped from that. Does anyone, either of the authors, want to talk about the state of this? I guess we just didn't get it together in time, or let's see.
So, Sergey, if you know, I know you joined. If you have any visibility to that one.
Yeah, the problem with this cap is it's a small code change, but I mean, ideal code change will be a huge refactoring. So right now it's a small change that we propose, and getting approvers to review through all the edge cases, it's hard. So it's very time consuming, and we didn't find approvers in time and reviewers in time. So I hope next time maybe it will be easier. So yeah, we still hope to get the next release maybe. We will start earlier this time.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good idea. And maybe we can, in the planning stage of next release, we can sort of start to poll different people from the different paths that we need approvers from. Let's see if there's, yeah, I have a couple different one features here. Okay, cool. Anyone else for that? Next up, we have gRPC API with endpoint returning local pods. This one did have a KEP that merged in 129, but it didn't actually update it in 131. There was some code merge. But what is the state of this?
No, I think the original author just dropped and we didn't make progress.
I see. Cool. So potentially, yeah, in the future, if we want this, we'll need someone to pick it up. Anything to add here? Cool. Moving on to swap. So this one, we didn't actually have a stage update for it. It just went to beta, like the last stage of beta. I don't remember which one it was, beta 1 or beta 2 in 130. So there was a KEP update that was proposed, but that was just to sort of clarify what we're going to do. It seems like we're going to push for GA in 132 at the current state that it is. So this is as expected. We didn't actually plan on making very much progress here, so that's fine. Did anyone have anything they wanted to mention here?
This one, the only problem it is this one. It is just API. There's the back and forth, right? So we want to surface the status because there's no clear way to how to the user have the request set, but we still want to surface the node enable of the swap. We did make a decision. Our team made the decision as the community and made decision incremental change of the swap support, right? So but we at the same time we know this is will have some noise to other potential have the noise to other running jobs once we enable. So that's why we want to have the condition or whatever surface as the status. So there's the back and forth discussing. But on the other hand, you are right. We didn't decide to bump the milestone, but we do want to continue enhance the feature.
Yeah, I think there was some back and forth regarding the API for how it can be exposed, whether it should be a condition or node status. I think, we need to resolve that one.
I remember we spent time, at least I spent time to convince people, and then all of a sudden, the new set of the people come ask the same question, and then the block again. Keep back and forth, and the last question, because this one I realized I didn't reply. Or I missed, so that's why I didn't reply and I forgot.
Yeah, so hopefully for 132, especially as we think about GA, we can get some agreement there. We can probably spell that out in the KEP phase itself so we can have all that bike shedding done before we actually get to implementation time. Cool. Parallel pulls. This one did not have it. It has been dropped from a couple of different releases so far, so we still have not gone through the process of pushing to beta. I think it's actually currently blocked on an end-to-end test. That just, I'm not sure what the state of it is. It seems like it's not passing, but it wasn't really updated recently, so. Yeah, so if we want to push forward this to the beta, we just need to, I think, put a little bit more dedicated energy into it.
This one is still, can I say that one? This one just also original owner dropped. Sergey, correct me.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that anything's blocked this one. Only just add test. Make sure there's no, in the long run, there's no regression.
The only thing left is testing it with end-to-end tests, and you just need to have somebody dedicated enough to push it through.
Yeah, that's my understanding. I don't think nothing supposed should be blocked this one.
Cool. Memory Manager GA. I think this is in a similar state where it just needs someone to carry it forward. We had a KEP update that never merged.
There are a few issues to look at. Hey, hello. There are a few issues to look at, which I'm doing. I'm pulling some resources, but it's progressing slowly. It's also hard to find other reviewers. So just heads up. Lack of bandwidth, both contributing side, which I'm trying to help with, and also reviewing side, which is also concerning. Thank you.
Are there a lot of changes needed for the GA of it? I would expect the code changes not to be very much.
No. As far as I know, the changes required, okay, the code is pretty much stable, but we have a bunch of issues which we need to address, literally address. Maybe sometimes require a fix or sometimes not, and we are going through them. But so far, no changes besides that.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, yeah, hopefully we can, put some energy towards it in 132. I mean, it looks at least we're like making slow progress. So at least, any amount of work we're moving forward will get us closer. But all right, in place VPA. This one was bumped from 131 at enhancement time, so we did not end up pushing forward on it. It looks like there's some unresolved edge cases. I don't know if Tim's around or anyone else who was working on this, but not seeing. But so just gotta move forward on these issues. Any thoughts here? Cool. Ensure secret pulled images. I was working with colleague Ramesh on this. In a similar state as the last couple of releases, there were some last minute design problems that came up about it. So while we had the enhancement and we have a PR up, it did not make it past API review. Hopefully we can sort of keep those notes and identify things to change and have it done earlier in the next cycle. But this
I
one
think we should
kind of keeps falling by the wayside.
I think one irreconcilable thing I saw was how do we reconcile kubelet losing state and runtime populating the images. So if we can clearly specify whether runtime populated images are within scope or not, maybe in the KEP process itself, that will help and we don't get stuck at the same point again.
Right. Yeah. And I think a limitation of this one, and this is in part me because I was involved in the KEP process, is we as a SIG went through the KEP planning, but we didn't necessarily involve API review in the KEP planning as deeply as maybe we should have. So the API, once the API changes needed to be reviewed, Jordan Liggett came in and, had his sort of structural problems with it, but that happened at code enhancement rather than, KEP update. So maybe getting API review on the KEP earlier might help us for that in the future.
Actually, a lot it is that later stage of the API review we didn't pass, right? So then they have to rush to change it. And then once the API change, a lot of the design also have to change it. So that's, yeah, okay.
And I think that's something I've seen in other KEPs generally is I think us as a SIG, we end up being really we're almost aggressive with the number of KEPs that we approve, and that's great. And we're improving a lot. And also sometimes we don't always get every stakeholder in the room at enhancement time. We have to get them at code change time. And then at that point, it's the 11th hour and we're scrambling to get it done. We did that with storage team and the OCI volume mount and the FS quota KEPs, and then we've done that with API review with the OCI volume mount and ensure secret images. So that's something to think about, I think, as we improve our processes, is making sure that every stakeholder is in the room for the enhancement freeze and not just, at the code change time. Cool. POS classes, we didn't bump the KEP, so it didn't update. We said maybe though, so that's to be expected. Maintenance mode for secret free one we did get, so we landed this. I don't know if anyone wants to mention anything about this, but this has been done, so that's good. Cool. Pass down resources to CRI. This one slipped enhancement freeze, so we did try to put some energy towards it, but it seems we're sort of honing in on a design So maybe we can get this done early in the 132 cycle and make some progress on this. Dixie, you have anything to add there? Cool. CRI image pull progress. This didn't go anywhere, I think. I actually don't know if the author is still actively working on it.
My proposal to make progress on this one is to split it into two, like keep out the fine-grained updates as a separate cap, and just first step get parity with the old Docker behavior. So if we pare it down, then I think the first step is achievable. The second one is where there were concerns around scalability from scalability team.
Right. Cool. So this one's DRA, the old one, but it also it made progress. We're still tracking this as a KEP, but most of the PRs work on both. So this made it similarly to the other one. So I imagine there's, anything here?
Yeah, so this one, I think we made good progress, the pod level resource limits on the KEP itself, but it missed the KEP freeze and we were late in asking for an exception. So hopeful that we should be able to make progress in 132.
And also this is the end because too many API review. So I even talked to team, and the team told me it's just overloaded. Too many hours. Yep. We also cannot get feedback earlier, and ourselves also overloaded. Yeah.
Right. I'm realizing now that I mixed up CRI, passed down resources, CRI, and pod level resource limits. So this comment here was actually applied to this one, which is why I tried to pull in Dixie. This one here is being driven by Marcus, who wasn't around this. But anyway,
I was looking at the other PR and I couldn't find anything related to me. So there was a delay in response. Sorry about that.
No, that was on me. I got my wires crossed. For some reason they're associated in my mind. But okay, so yes, for this one, so this also sort of is down to similar sort of like the overall bottleneck of API review, and something that the whole Kubernetes project is sort of hitting. Ephemeral storage. So this one we thought about maybe working on, but actually we did land it, and so that's exciting. So we did actually make it to beta, and we have the reliance on the user namespace field. So that's cool. Some forward progress on a fairly old KEP. So hopefully folks can try it out and let us know what they think. Similarly, we did not do a stage change for user namespaces, but there were two PRs that merged for the integration with the pod security standards. So we did make a little bit of progress, but as we didn't intend on making a stage change, it could be qualified for GA 132, and we may push for that depending on sort of how people feel about the state of the. I know that. Well, actually, no. We might not push for one in 132 because of kubelet skew, kubelet versioning skew with the API server, and the time at which we added the kubelet denying a pod edit admission if it doesn't support user namespaces. So actually, we might have to wait till 133 here, but but we made a little bit of progress, so that's cool, and it's still in beta, so that's good. Proc mount type, we added. Oh, I've got to fix that link. So for proc mount, we did push it to beta. So or push it. Yeah. So that was good. we weren't sure. Yeah, I've got to fix this. I'm doing too many things at once. So yes, we did make forward progress here. And got some EDE tests now too. So that's in beta now. CRI stats, we didn't really make any progress. We're still waiting on a Containerd implementation. There's someone who has volunteered to work on it in Containerd. Oh, it was here. So that's exciting, and hopefully we can get that done because I personally want to get this moving forward.
Yeah.
Split file system. This did make some progress. So this, we were able to move forward to beta. And that worked. Does anyone have anything they want to mention here?
Yeah, I want to add here that we need Containerd support here as well. Like Kevin Hannon has opened an issue, but like Mike or Don, if you guys want to help push that forward, it'll be useful because we'll need it for GA.
Yeah. One note. So just a conversation that we had a couple of months ago when talking about whether or not to bump this to beta was that all this KEP is being able to react to the runtime being configured in this way. So I would not personally set the requirement of Containerd support to push it to GA, because what this feature is mostly the kubelet reacting to the runtime being set up this way. I mean, if other people think that it would be a requirement for GA, that's okay with me. But personally, I don't necessarily think we need to block on Containerd support.
Peter, let's not discuss details. Let's try to like speed up the process a little bit. We still have want to give people time to give feedback on what went well and what didn't went well.
Great point. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll talk about that later. CDI, we did make progress here. So we merged it, and everything's good there. Similarly, with AppArmor support, we did successfully. Was this GA that we made it to? I'm not totally sure, but we did make some forward progress here, so that was good. Topology manager policy for max allowable NUMA nodes. This also made some progress. Has some doc stuff going on, but we didn't make forward progress here. Crash loop backoff timeout minimization. This one was deferred at enhancement stage. So we need to clarify the design here, I think, but making some progress.
Yeah, I'm
so
here
we
on
just
the call.
To get this merged. Oh, hey, Laura.
Hey, but yeah, I don't know how much but yeah, basically we didn't like an API related thing at the end towards enhancements freeze. So we want to rethink that.
Totally. Cool. Oh yeah, I see. Yes, awesome. So hopefully we can get that clarified for 132.
Can I take to chime in a little bit on the API? Several things blocked by API. So maybe we can have the plan, like the weak things in our weekly SIG node. We can do more planning, like they say, okay, this week, since it's start for next release, right? So we can start the review as early as possible. So we can say, okay, Nora coming and or maybe some like API reviewer coming and say, here is what we decided. Here is what's the concern. So we can make that more manageable, more predictable for our contributor too. This is just idea because we did before when earlier Kubernetes, right? So just pull people in and say, here is it's more managed.
Yeah, I like that idea, and it also sort of lowers the rush towards enhancement freeze if we're like sort of slowly doing it throughout the release rather than spiking all of the reviews right at the end. Good idea. Anything else here? file end source. So this slipped, I think, at enhancement stage. So I don't know what happened here. Anish, are you around? Did you work on this?
Yeah, that was again API review on Tim Hawken had reservations whether we need to have it natively or we just want to have it generically. And API review together with like slow response and sometimes delays in like communication made it harder.
Totally. Cool. Well, hopefully we can get that sort of clarified as well. The next one is CRI native kubectl copy, which I was going to work on, and then I just decided it didn't make sense to prioritize for 131. I'm hoping to get some energy to move it forward in 132. It seems like a good enhancement, but it will be a complicated one, so I imagine it's possible other more higher priority pieces will sort of preempt it, but hopefully we can make some progress there. Affinity-based eviction, we weren't sure we were going to work on this, and we were correct in that we didn't. So it's still at PR review or enhancement review stage. So hopefully we can get some clarity there. It seems the discussions continue to go, so that's good. So hopefully we can get some work done 132. Sub-second granular probes. This one I don't think was worked on.
We did a little bit of design work. Tim had some interesting ideas that we're gonna put it into the next release.
Maybe we could skip the maybes and go to the ones with yes, and then proceed further.
Sounds good. This one, C group driver from CRI. This one was done, so that's good. The couple tape manager from Node Lifecycle Controller. I think this one was blocked on SIG apps. Reviewing it or something. There was some conversation about it, but it didn't go anywhere. But I don't think that was on us necessarily. And then run once. This one, we might have decided not to go the enhancement route and just drop support. It's actually not really clear to me what the stage of this is.
I think we went the enhancement route, at least from what I know. It's just the implementation was opened up too late. And it was opened up like the day after code freeze.
Okay. Late implementation. Cool. And then finally, resource health status for DRA and plugin. This did make it. So good job there. So I also did a
that last one was late addition from workgroup serving, and it was all sorts of being late.
Totally. But we got it there right at the end there. Awesome. I also this is just I found interesting. I did some historical data on the amount of keps that we had merged. We did a pretty good job this time with 22 tracked and 16 merged. That's tied for the best percentage that we've had, but this one had many fewer. So good job everyone on that. I did not fill out the exceptions. I think there were a couple in each enhancement and code, but I think all of them made it. Does anyone have any? I guess we can talk about thoughts and feedback unless anyone has anything to mention with enhancements or exceptions. I should have populated this and I forgot to.
I think we did this time more cautious, right? I remember even there's at the beginning of the planning, there's the debate between me and the Manu. So how best to track more focus on the top, give some of the priority or something like that. I think that actually the Manu is right and give you a slight of a priority. Of course, the later data show that we decided not to do, and actually a lot of merged, which is like which is like what I described earlier. I said, oh, in the past I tried to prioritize and a lot of things, but because we don't still is the virtual team, right? Community. So but I still feel like this time we have the priority actually do get more attention on the higher priority work. So not just like the 70% merge, and also it's like higher priority. If you look at the compared to before, still is the merge more than the previous. So I think we can balance.
Definitely agree. Like I know, like there was some scramble to get the DRA cap merged, but after that, there was a lot of focus on the implementation and getting it merged. So yeah, we can continue doing that.
Totally. Like even like the team asked me which one to pay attention on the API, because we agree upon, so I can give the work clearly guidance and say, here it is, please prioritize those things.
Cool. Do other people have things they think went well?
I feel like we are getting better at like tracking things. Like in the previous releases, we are scrambling towards the last 2-3 days, but I see that we are more focused a week or two before the freezes. So we are getting better at both merging caps as well as implementations. I think what we are missing is when we plan something and then authors go missing. So we should quickly remove those caps when we see that, okay, as after the cap is merged, maybe after a week, we should be aggressive in saying, okay, we don't think that an implementation is showing. It's going to show in time. Yeah.
Cool. More thoughts, anyone? We can move on. If not,
I can add if nobody else wants to go. That I really impressed how much interest we have for all sorts of directions SIG Node can go. Like 40 caps to discuss, and then out of them only 20 to track. It's a lot of work, and I'm glad there are so much interest. I mean, we can also, I don't know if we can make it into what can go better, because people want caps, so we cannot make them not want caps.
right. I mean, I think that goes along with the priority sort of sorting, where we as a SIG can become better at ordering what we think is the high priority as SIG. So then at least that's some feedback for CAP authors to be like, okay, we'll try, but this is not going to be a very high priority for the reviewers. Cool. Moving on to things that could have gone better. Kat, I see you have a note. Would you like to speak on that?
Yeah, hi. For the people here who don't know me, I'm the release team sub-project owner, and I'm also a SIG Docs tech lead. So I'm here with both hats on today. We have disproportionately an issue with getting timely responses from SIG Node KEP owners in the release team. So like right up front, this is not really an issue that we consistently have with other SIGs. It's kind of specific to SIG Node. Of course, this is an open source project. We are all working for free, right? So like occasional communication issues are like totally to be expected. But twice this cycle, we've had an issue where the release team gets ignored for days or weeks at a time regarding a deadline that is firm. And I know that historically we've treated the docs deadline, docs freeze now, like it is soft, but it's not anymore. It has an exception process. It's been moved earlier in the release cycle. This is all made very public at the beginning of the release, and we invite comments on the release schedule. But now, if you miss the docs freeze, we will pull your enhancement from the release, just like if it had missed code freeze or enhancements freeze. So it creates a lot of extra work for both the release team and SIG docs when we get ignored for weeks at a time on docs deadlines, and then we have to scramble to like get docs PRs through the door on the day of docs freeze. It requires both the release team and SIG docs to scramble, because the release team can review kind of, but they can't approve it. SIG docs has to do that. So this is a problem that is getting increasingly worse. I suspect it is a result of the radically higher number of KEPs y'all are getting through, which is great. We want you to get more KEPs through, but we need to also adjust the resources available for responding to the release team and meeting docs deadlines and responding to release signal to equal the larger number of KEPs getting it through the door. So I'm here from both the release team and SIG docs to try to figure out how we can improve this relationship, because like obviously we need you to write code and to get KEPs through the door, but you need us to include them in the release. So it's a symbiotic relationship, and like surely there's something that like we can be doing differently to communicate with y'all in a way that works better for you, and something y'all can change to make yourselves more available to us. I suggested in a group chat the implementation of a triage rotation similar to what SIG docs uses. We have PR wranglers that are assigned on a weekly schedule that they are the point of contact for responding to SIG docs PR related issues. I don't know if that'll work for y'all. It does work well for us, but there does need to be like some kind of adjustments made to make it easier for us to work together.
I think that's a great idea. What I'm thinking is maybe like in addition to the chairs and the leads, right? We can nominate 2-3 people to help with a release to get it over the line, and maybe create an alias or something that can be pinged. So if a chair or a lead is away on vacation or something, we have other folks covering and helping.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great idea. It's also like we don't know how best to reach out to you. We're currently going with a scattershot tactic of commenting on the PR, a message in your channel, DMing the KEP owner, and if we absolutely have to, your mailing list. But we try not to do the mailing list because it can be a little bit like it feels aggressive to do that, and like potentially embarrassing if we're calling out like one specific KEP owner. So we try to avoid the mailing list one, but like what is the best way for us to reach you if we need a response, especially if it's like release signal where it's emergent and we can't wait on your next meeting? Because if there's a failing test that's blocking a cut, we cannot wait on your next meeting to get an answer. We need it within 24 hours.
Yeah, I think we should have a rotating alias like node triage or something, and then we can put in folks there that are interested in supporting that, and that can be the Slack alias to reach out to. But I think like the first should be the pings on the PRs, of course, and if you don't get a response, then alias can be used.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great.
So Manu, did you suggest like at the end release or at the end of the development cycle, so we aggregate all the doc and few people review?
Mm-hmm.
And for the release notes, this is what I did a long time back. Okay, I do that for every release. I think also Derek and I share the node, right? So, but I think there's more doc, not just release notes. And I think we can build something like that. So when we do the planning, we can see that this enhancement lead new doc, right? So we could during the review and approve at a different stage to distribute that node. Like for example, for the new enhancement, right? So we need to clearly say like this enhancement bump from the beta to GA. Some is don't need doc change even. Only like this is the milestone is GA, right? So because only just add more tests or something like that. But some need. We could hide the planning or KEP review list clearly say this is need doc update or not doc update. And at the end of the development cycle, we could block that merge to say, oh, do you have the doc ready? The doc PR ready? At least from that perspective, we can block distributed work. And I think the SIG node community needs and the chair can take the job about at the end to review all those kind of things. But at least there's the distributed, we can easy to aggregate all those kind of things and look at the release notes. That can definitely. But I don't think about at the release last minute, you are going to do all the doc review. I think that's too late already. And also everyone is already busy on the PR review and other work, right? So it's become to another API review blocker bottleneck. We need to distribute it all over the entire of the development cycle.
Yeah, so there's multiple docs deadlines during the release, right? So at the beginning of the cycle, the release docs team will go through all of the enhancements and determine whether or not they need documentation, which boils down to like, is there a user-facing change, right? If they can't figure it out, they'll ask the KEP owner, and we just have to trust that you're being truthful. Some stuff gets missed occasionally. Usually it's just a feature flag that gets missed. But after that, there is a deadline where the KEP owner is required to open a placeholder PR. We track this all in a GitHub project board. After that, there is a docs ready to review deadline, which is there has to be stuff in your PR and it has to be out of a draft state. Then right after code freeze is the docs freeze deadline, which is your docs have to be merged. We define those deadlines, like when those occur during the release cycle, about 2 weeks before the actual release starts. So depending on when y'all do your planning, it may be possible for you to look at the proposed schedule for docs for the release and see if you can integrate that into your own planning for the release. It really just depends on how early you do it. But yeah, like technically for a KEP to be considered complete, if it has a user-facing change, documentation is required. Otherwise that KEP is not complete, right? So we can and will start kicking enhancements over missing the docs freeze deadline. We don't want to do that because it's like it's really late in the cycle, right? And that's scary. But we can. So we're very motivated to help give you whatever you need to make that process smoother. And if that means like coordinating more closely with SIG leads, it can't just be you. We'll have to coordinate with all SIG leads about it. Regarding the release schedule, we will do that. But that does require like communication and responsivity, because like currently we get basically no input on the release schedule, even though we blast it everywhere for 2 weeks before it's merged. So that it just becomes another issue of like, how do we get y'all to talk to us? You know?
Yeah, I appreciate the feedback here. I think one of the things, and Renal, I like what you were proposing, and Don, I agree with much of what you said there. I think reflecting on when Peter went through the list of enhancements and stuff, one of the things I think we struggle with is we often get new contributors wanting to make big changes.
And then they abandon it, yeah.
Yeah, and I think we saw that in the list here. And I think I'm wondering if in your view, Kat, maybe are we over tilted on that relative to other SIGs, or you maybe don't have
No, I don't think you're over tilted on that relative to other SIGs. We get a few of those every release, and it's not just you. But those usually get lost at code freeze. Or even earlier, they get lost at enhancements freeze. But no, I don't think you have a disproportionate problem with that, fortunately, though you are like one of the largest SIGs contributing KEPs to the release. We see it a lot from storage too.
The only thing I was trying to think through then was in some cases, some of these enhancements, even when Peter goes to the list, they represent features that have been very, very long under discussion or in flight. Yeah. And often there's like a contributor that's interested in that one thing, but not necessarily, the other things. And their contribution ebbs and flows. So it seems like a lot of this process is oriented around the enhancement owner. And I don't know, Mernal, when we do the planning, like if an enhancement owner is really the right person, or if can we have a multi-value field there?
Yeah, maybe we need a
I don't know if
shepherd
even the enhancement author is
person.
aware of everything they're being signed up to around the contribution process. And then Kat, like it or not, sometimes we in the SIG can take the grief of the broader project contribution, challenges.
Before we go further on this topic, maybe we can collect more feedback if there's anything, and if we'll have more time, we can discuss it further, communication part. If there anybody contributed this release cycle, maybe you can give more feedback on what didn't went well and what you maybe wanted to see improved. Sorry for interrupting. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I think
we're
it's
running
fine.
out
I
of
think
time.
having multiple enhancement owners is the only thing I was just trying to think through. Like, is there a way we can tilt the process to not just be single owner?
I think maybe like if we have a release team, a node release team, and then each person is responsible for shepherding something and helping the contributor. Like we have an approver, right? Maybe we expand the team of SIG chairs leads with 2-3 more volunteers, and then that's the expanded team, and then each name is assigned to an enhancement, and that person will help shepherd it through. And when they realize that the contributor is no longer showing, they'll raise the flag and let the broader team know.
And I think the other thing that, oh, sorry, yeah, just real quick. The other thing that that'll do is share the onus of the responsibility of wrangling docs from taking away just the responsibility on the docs team, which I think we've historically relied on the docs team to be the ones to do the wrangling. And I think that that's in part is like us as a SIG generally haven't taken that responsibility from like a leadership perspective in ensuring that that's happening in the enhancement process. We're like getting up to the code merge and then we're like, okay, we did it, code merge, we're done. So at the very least, like setting that set of people, I think sets a philosophical sort of change that also the SIG leadership is responsible for making sure any new contributors, anyone is getting docs changes in as well. I think would be good.
I just want to clarify earlier what I talked about. Okay, I want that in the enhancement process, we need to determine this enhancement lead doc, what kind of level of the doc, right? So like earlier mentioned that just bump off the version milestone, then maybe you don't need the detail. But certain things is user facing, you need more detail of the user guide of the doc. All those kind of things in the enhancement, we need more clearly to state and put in our planning. And but I'm not to suggest block cap. I'm suggest block of the final implementation. Right, you need to have the doc draft somewhere open already and the review, and before I merge and I approve your implementation. The reason it is during the implementation, we always still come back to change, sometimes even, right? So change of the implementation and change some semantic, change API. And so that's why I would rather block off the PR implementation details at the end. So make sure the doc, it is being written and match to our planning at earlier. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll help for sure, right? Because I think a lot of people lose energy. They're like, okay, I'm done. My PR is merged. And then, like we should treat that it's done when we merge the docs, not when the like code is merged. Like, we can start taking the docs as a real deadline rather than
Another topic I wanted to bring is again, I'm happy to shut up right now if anybody else wants to speak. For new topics, one new topic is I often see on caps, and my cap it was a similar-ish situation when SIG Node is saying go do API review, and API reviewers say go check, go get SIG Node approval first, and this is kind of back and forth is not super healthy, and it's happening on many PRs and on cap. I think sometimes it's more a matter of people want to say no, but they don't want to say no, so they kind of deflect into other body of approvers to give some feedback.
I want to add something what Sergey said. Yeah, that's true. A lot of time I feel like I approve some for the signal, and because API reviewer wants that one, and I did approve, and we in the community we also discussed. The community also say this is our priority, but then later everything's changed because it's last minute API review, and we have to rediscuss it because that API will dramatically change of a lot of implementation. Like the in-place update is the one thing, right? So I have many examples like that. We back and forth, and then later we totally changed it, and then we add more feature on the data plan, and every new feature might be interfere with that feature because it's complicated feature. Then we back stay like orange.
Yeah, I mean, this cycle we had this for pod level limits, right? I mean, it wasn't exactly the same, like, but there was a back and forth between API reviewers and SIG Node approvers. We need to do better. I don't know what exactly we can do.
Yeah, I think maybe we should raise that topic at SIGARCH and see like if we have a consistent order there.
I've seen this as well with the PRR reviews. Same thing, where the PRR expects there to be SIG approval, but sometimes, you know, we don't always get the SIG approval until, you know, closer to the deadline. So, I mean, I think that it, depending on what the conversation at SIGARCH goes, if we want to have that conversation, but I think that it seems like all of these top level sort of like other new gates that exist all rely on there being SIG approval. So maybe as a SIG, we just like set the precedent that like before we start vying for these other sets of approval, whether it be API review or PRR, we make sure that the SIG itself is sort of, we've agreed on it and we have approval there.
The problem it is there's the two type different approval. Okay, the one type of the approval it is so there's the dependency, right? So API change could change implementation, could add more overhead on the node, and right. So we could approve initially. We approve first thing. There's the zero approval. When it is approve of the problem domain, it is fall into the node or fall into this component. Then we approve, right? So then there's the, it is a, did we address of the right problem for customer? Should we address this problem in the core Kubernetes? That's another problem. So there's the zero problem, and then design API. It is aligned what we are long-term maintenance, sustainable, all those kind of things. So that's why we cannot ask the SIG Node approval upfront. Because the API later change totally will change the implementation, totally will change everything. So then we have to redo a lot of things. Right? So I still need to look at your new design. So this is why I'm not sure which one should be last. I do think about the API should be first, or not like initial first. I feel like the SIG Node approval to say let's address this problem. Let's put this is in our plan. That's why we agree this is the problem domain. This is the problem we want to attack as the core team, right? So then we allow those, we put the effort on those kind of things. So this is kind of the signal, at least we show, right? So like at least the people can say, oh, how signal the opinion. We never share to say, maybe you should go to other way. Maybe you should go to other SIG, or maybe we never share on those kind of things, right? So that part, I think once we send out that to API server, API review, that means we already think about that's the problem we want to attack. But then I think it's the API need to go first. I mean, of course, the high level design we have to agree upon. Then I think API. So at last minute should be SIG Node approval. I really think about that should be this way because we are going to long term support this one and fix the problem and provide the documentation, all those kind of things. Why we need to give the SIG Node approval upfront and detach from the detail about the implementation. That's not the right thing for me. I think we need to figure out what's the API first.
Yeah, I think the suggestion to take it to SIGARCH then probably is a good idea because it seems like there's a misalignment between what API review thinks that should happen and, you know, folks here. I think also, unfortunately, we are out of time. So either we can continue this next week or we can or offline or otherwise. But good job, everyone, on a really productive 131. Thanks for participating in the retro, and see you all next week.
Thank you, Peter.
Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Peter. Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.